Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Any member of the public violating generally accepted principles and decorum of official public meetings. We'll take public comment in the room first. We'll start with Enrique.
Should we have her please? We should have her with their microphone.
Maybe step up just a little bit closer because our one mic is right here. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Well, I am a violinist, so I know to
Project.
Step
Yeah.
Speaker. Dear Yuba-Water Agency, how nice to see you all. Good morning. I come here today with signatures from 186 of my fellow Yuba County community members. Come in. Right. They all have talked with me about our efforts to buy water directly from South Feather, now that North Yuba is so clearly not interested in delivering to their own customers. All these folks agree wholeheartedly that we need our water back in town and that we need to do whatever it takes to make this happen. Moreover, everyone I talked to is so happy that there might be other possibilities for getting our water rather than waiting for this rogue water district to finally do it. On that note, via PRA request learned that manager table yesterday to talk with you on Saturday, and that you held a meeting which is going to be focused on solutions to the irrigation conveyance issues, but you held it anyway. By refusing to participate, he makes it crystal clear that he does not want to be part of the solution for the problems that he created. I cannot begin to express my gratitude to you all who do wish to be part of the solution. Your courage to take on this gnarly, entrenched situation, your stamina in listening to us week after week after week, and your creativity and motivation to make something happen for us, so at least try. I do sincerely hope that your smaller meeting yesterday was still mighty and that your combined problem-solving skills will lead to a way out of this sticky mess. You are a very part of a regional solution, working with some better options. And North Yuba chose to not be part of the problem solvers. Indeed, this way they show themselves to be part of the problem themselves. The inhabitants of Upper Yuba County deserve better than this dysfunctional special district. At this point, it surely is misusing the self-governing powers that were granted to at its inception. It's my hope and my true conviction that you all can see this disturbing district for what it is and reach the same conclusion that our towns have reached. Yuba County deserves better. Upper Yuba County wishes to have opportunities for economic development and prosperity also. And we need our water to power food security, agritourism, well protection, and fire protection. Thank you so very, very much for your commitment to put the power and creativity of the Yuba-Water Agency to beneficial use for the people that make a living out there in the foothills.
Thank you, Enrique.
And here's 186.
Thank you.
Of our fellows.
All right, let's go on to the next one, Charles. And then we'll move to the online folks.
Thank you. Good morning, Charles Sharp, Oregon House. I want to thank the Yuba-Water Agency for your efforts to help find a solution to a reliable supply of water for the foothills. I apologize that my water district acts like such a petulant child and is giving everybody such a hard time. My district needs to be taken out behind the woodshed and given a sound thrashing. We're working on it. The agency has plans to build a watershed learning center. Why do you build such places? You build such places to facilitate teaching moments. The secondary spillway offers the agency an extraordinary teaching moment for the people of Yuba County. Seldom mentioned is that climate change has necessitated this secondary spillway. The $225 million cost, the last I heard, is a climate mitigation cost the agency must bear. There is a segment of the population that feels that if they deny climate change, they can avoid the cost of climate mitigation. Just as the Yuba Water Agency cannot avoid this cost, nor can anybody in Yuba County. Gentlemen, this is a teaching moment for the people of Yuba County should you decide to take it on. Okay. In your strategic plan priority number 6, it says, collaborate with Yuba County, other local government agencies, and community-based groups in assessing opportunities to assist the county in supporting a local economy in a community that is strong and diversified, and in furtherance of the Yuba Water Agency missions. I like the community-based part. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Charles.
It looks like we do have one online. The hand is raised. It's a Samsung phone. You can do *6 unmute, or I can unmute you.
Yes, hi, this is Dr. Gretchen Floor. Thank you so much. I'm calling in. I apologize for looking in mysterious on your Zoom. I just wanted to chime in with Charles and Marika and thank the Yuba Water Agency and the supervisors for working so hard to come up with a solution. I know that I've been coming to these meetings for a number of years, and what we're seeing now is so gratifying, and we are so optimistic that there will be a solution for the situation that is going on right now in the North Yuba Water District. As you know, I was elected as Director of Division 4. I was elected to serve the irrigation customers, and even though I don't live in the area anymore, I'm still fighting for our customers to get their water because this community deserves this. I think it's clear to everyone at this point that there's something very, very, very wrong with the North Yuba Water District employee management and board of directors. There have been multiple solutions proposed to get water to the customers, which is the reason a water agency exists, is to serve their customers. This is not a for-profit type of situation. Despite the many, many, many solutions that we have brought to the table, North Yuba refuses to come to the table and sit down and talk. One of the other things that should be really clear to all the parties involved, from the Yuba Water Agency to South Feather to the public in Yuba County in general, is that this is not a small group of people that are affected. This is not a group of people that are just complaining because they have nothing better to do with their lives. All of us would love to move on with our lives, but many of us cannot because the water that we need to run our farms and our ranches and our vineyards isn't forthcoming, and people are going under. I would like to make one point, which is for those people who are not familiar with ranching and farming, it does not work to try to water pastures that are needed to feed your livestock without flood irrigation. It takes many, many, many acre feet of water to flood those pastures to grow food for your livestock. One of our local organic farmers is spending $12,000 a month on feed because she's not getting the water, and she is currently considering selling out and leaving. We've already lost our beef cattle rancher. So thank you so much, Yuba Water Agency. Maybe with your help, we can save the farm for our sheep rancher and for the people that are currently considering selling up and moving out. Thank you very much. We know there's a solution, and it's time for us to just move forward with the solutions, whether or not North Yuba wants to sit at the table. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Floor.
I'm seeing no others online, no hands raised.
Okay,
So you're
just confirming no one else in the room for public comment. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to consent items. Any public comment on consent items?
Move to approve.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Any comment from the board? Okay, I guess we can just do all in favor, huh? So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next, we will move on to discussion item number 3. Consider approval of a grant to Hallwood Irrigation District for up to $650,000 for an irrigation system renovation plan. Ryan?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman.
hold on, Mr. McNally, for a moment.
I've been a member for own share in Hallwood Irrigation, like 1%. I want to be able to comment on the issue, but I will not vote on it.
Okay, should we take his comment before the presentation or after? Is there,
It's up to you.
does
I don't know if
legal counsel have any?
It would be best to wait until public comment.
Okay. Great, thank you. So, sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ryan McNally, Director of Water Resources and Flood Risk Reduction here for the agency. So yeah, as part of our community outreach grant program, one of the applicants this cycle was a Hallwood Irrigation Company seeking a grant for engineering or design engineering planning, as well as grant application assistance, so technical support to explore and discover any deficiencies in their infrastructure for the Hallwood Irrigation Company. That's their canal system, their delivery network. And so staff has recommended approval for $650,000 toward the project. And one of the values of the project is once this plan is in hand, once the engineering is complete, it'll provide an effective tool for seeking outside grant funds from state and federal resources.
Okay. Any, Charlie, I guess we'll do public comment on this item. So
Yes,
as a member of the public.
We spend over $500,000 on a study with no physical results from the study. Irrigation districts, I guess I'm very much in favor of spending agency money for helping irrigation districts. But I have problems when it gets to be $600,000 for a study that will not help. I realize they have sandy areas where lining the canals would save water, and the saved water then would be worth, I guess, in the area of $500 an acre foot to all of it. I have no problem with that, but I have a problem with the agency spending the $600,000 without accomplishing any updates on their system. And we've never spent that kind of money with other districts to the $500,000 mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment, either in the room or on Zoom?
Seeing that.
Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to board member comment or question.
Through the chair. So, Brian, there's a process. You start with an engineering report that leads you to a lot of dollars. That's typical. So what's in your estimate, the outcome financially, and then for your customers, our community, for water in general?
Financial, well, I don't know. I think it's, it all depends on what the study finds, right? Like what are the deficiencies? So it's hard for me to quantify or probably even Hallwood to quantify what the financial benefit is at this point. But I think that's part of the process, is learning that. In terms of what it means to the customers and to the farmers in Hallwood, an improved system, improved efficiency, improved reliability, less O&M, better ability to deliver to their customers.
So let me get to the basis of this. We all understand, you got leaks and you got issues, but it's not that simple. When you apply for a grant, if you don't have a study to back up that process, what do you end up with? What do they pay you when you don't have an official study?
More often than not, you don't receive the grants.
You don't.
You're not competitive for the grants, right?
So it's a lot of money. But the bottom line is, if you don't do it, you won't get to the end of the game. That's right.
That's correct. And just anecdotally, BVID, when they went out for this core pipeline project, they did the same exact process. It was between I can't remember, $600,000 to $700,000 for the engineering study. And that is what made BVID competitive for the Water Smart grant from the Bureau. That study, presenting that study, saying, here's what it looks like. Now we need funding to implement. So,
and could you find that an engineer that would do it for, let's say, $50,000? Is that feasible?
No, not $50,000.
100,000. Is that feasible?
Probably not. I would say you're looking at between $4 to $5, maybe $600,000. And my understanding with this grant, it's an up to. I don't think they intend to spend the whole $650,000. This is just so they don't have to come back to us and ask for more money if there's overruns.
Very good. Thank you.
Any additional board comment or questions?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, so we have one no and one abstention.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 4, which is consider approval of grants totaling $756,000 pursuant to the Community Impact Grant and Loan Program Policy for March 2022 application acceptance window. This matter was recommended for approval by the POD Committee on May 18th, 2022. So Ryan, I guess you're going to kick this one off.
Yeah, of course. So I have 3 more this morning. I don't know if we wanted to go in a specific order on how to present these. I'll just go down. I'll start with, if it's okay, flood risk reduction. So we have a request for us this morning from the city of Marysville for $88,500 to leverage their now $100,000 to purchase equipment to clean and clear vegetation and debris from the floodway surrounding the city. And this includes Hallwood and District 10. And what they'll be purchasing with this grant is a skid steer with attachments such as a bucket and a masticator head to perform this work. And so staff recommended approval for this project. Discussion.
So through, or just to legal counsel, unless a board member requests, we can take all these as a single motion. Is that correct? Unless a board member requests otherwise?
They're agendized as a single item, so they can be taken.
Okay, but I do think it's smart to take questions individually if there are any. So are there any questions on this item?
Through the chair, quickly, was there some reason this didn't go through the pod? Is there a time sensitive issue? Are you short on?
This was recommended by the pod. Yes.
Oh, I apologize.
I think all of these that are part of this
Since I
item.
wasn't at
went
that
through
meeting,
pod.
I guess that makes sense.
So we had a little discussion at the pod. There apparently it's not a usable bobcat for all these attachments. So they're buying a bobcat and all the attachments, including the masticator. So I know the fire department's been looking at this for some time. So if it's used correctly, it will be a great benefit to all. Like, I don't know how far out they can go or beyond Marysville they should, but it's going to be available for maintain the levees in and out the areas.
Great.
Well, just excuse me, Chief Sachs, Marysville PD submitted the grant application working with Jackie and Ryan on this project. Years past, the city of Marysville submitted this grant for over $300,000 for a full complement of equipment. We reevaluated it this year, looked at it, and got the city to contribute $100,000 towards this project. It's $188,500 total. That includes trailer, new skid steer, masticator, plus the attachments like Brian indicated. It will be a full service. Our public works department will use it along with our fire personnel, and it will also service District 10 and Hallwood, since we have the fire contract for both those. So any of the waterways or vegetation management programs that need to be utilized for that for fuel reduction and such. We will prioritize those projects throughout the year, and this equipment would allow us to accomplish that task. And I appreciate the consideration.
Any additional board member comment or questions on this one? We'll take public comment, I guess, for all of them at the end. So we'll move on to the next one.
Okay, so next up I have water resources. So for water resources, this funding cycle, the Browns Valley Irrigation District has applied for a $10,000 grant to purchase an unmanned aerial vehicle. So just for historical context to this process, they originally applied for a Bill Shaw grant because this was going to serve. So as the owners of Collins Lake and the Collins Lake Recreation Area, the BVID is involved in public safety and security operations, including boating accidents, things like that. So they were going to apply for a Bill Shaw grant. However, the team kind of recognized that in order to preserve the intent of the Bill Shaw grant, this really didn't fit. So we recommended that it moved into a water resources grant. And so really, BVID intends to also use the drone as a tool for dam safety, including regular inspections of the dam face and spillway. And then also along the ditch banks to identify problems such as leaks or failures. And it'll also provide a much needed GIS function towards managing their extensive infrastructure. And at the POT committee, the question was asked if the BVID would be willing to share this tool with the other member units, and it was a yes.
Any questions or comments from board members on this item?
Kelly, I was just kind of curious,
Sorry.
There probably wasn't much extent, was there, on licensing the pilot?
We're still looking into it. They have to go through FAA. I want to say it's a $70 license, and so we have 2 of them that will be able to get it. So that way, if we need to use it for other areas, we do have 2 people available that will allow for it. And the other thing that Ryan didn't mention is that not only does it help with that, but our system is old and it has a lot of leaks. And so one of the cameras that we're looking at is for vegetation mapping and leak detection. And so we will be able to use that not only on our system, but also on any of the other systems that are in the area.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? If not, Ryan, you can move on to the next one.
Yeah, so I'm here also. Joanna Lassar was not able to make it this morning, so I'm representing her her grant area, and that's Watershed Resilience. And so this morning we have a request from the Nature Conservancy seeking $238,000 in match funds to complete a $476,000 study that will inform planning, implementation, and monitoring of the forest health conditions in the North Yuba watershed. They're a signatory to the North Yuba Forest Partnership MOU, and the study will provide data and maps to the partnership, as well as the Forest Service, to help justify the removal of larger trees, which has historically been the focus of criticism. So this will be a real benefit to the Conservancy as well as the partnership.
Any questions?
I believe someone here is.
I think they're online.
Oh, they're online. I don't know if there was someone from the program wanted to speak to the board.
Go ahead and unmute if you need to it.
Good morning, directors.
Morning.
Happy to answer any questions or
any questions from board members? Okay. Thank you. It looks like there's no questions. You're welcome to make a comment if you like, but not necessary.
I'll just say we appreciate the support of the Yuba Water Agency and the Yuba Board of Directors in this regard. We think this is really important to bolster support socially for this project, as well as scientifically, and also helps to establish the North Yuba project and its partners as science-based in their quest to reduce fuels and risk and improve forest health in the North Yuba watershed. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Just to reiterate, this is a 50-50 cost share, so it's maximizing dollars.
Great.
And Gary, I can't resist.
Okay, go ahead.
Comment?
Sure, absolutely.
So this is, in my mind, super valuable. There is a current diameter limit on the trees that can be harvested in the National Forest of the Sierras. It's 30 inches diameter at breast height. It's a number that was chosen in the forest management plan by the National Forests. And this effort is to fund the science to determine if that is an accurate and effective maximum diameter limit. What we feel, I'll say me as a professional forester, feel that in certain timber stand conditions, you can't reduce the fuels effectively without potentially removing trees that are greater than 30 inches in diameter. And rather than just go and argue about an arbitrary number out there, this is to go gather the science to show do we need to remove trees greater than 30 to be effective or not. And so we're basically 50% cost sharing the science that not only will be used for our North Yuba Forest Partnership, but can be expanded throughout the Sierras and will probably help other regions that are at risk as well. So here again, we're a catalyst for forest management in the state.
Great. Thank you for that additional information. That's very good to know.
So just a comment. I couldn't agree more. We all know there's an issue in the forest. We all know there's a management issue that has gone on for the last 100 years. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of dollars to get these things started. It's a shame that you can't just make a statement and that fixes the problem. But back to the studies that are very expensive, that you have to go through this process. And it's well worth the dollars to do it.
Okay. Anything else on this item? Okay. Ryan?
I think I'm going to turn this over to Creighton. Okay.
Yeah. So my name is Creighton Avila. I'm a project manager for education. And so which is the first one, Jim, up there for education right now?
This is Circle Salmon Expedition.
Okay, so first one is Circle Salmon Expeditions. You've seen this.
Why don't you go on there so you can? Yep. Thank you.
You've seen this grant before. The differences from the past is that it is a 3-year grant. They're trying to get to 90% of all fourth graders. Other differences is they're coming into the classroom before the field trip, after the field trip, and going to restoration areas where we're doing work to help out on the. So we have Winning Street with salmon. I'm sorry. With Circle. And then we have Melinda Booth, who is online. Want to know if either one of you wanted to say anything?
Monique with Circle, and I just wanted to thank you all for your consideration and for your continued support of our programs from 2019. And just I've been speaking with a lot of the teachers down in Marysville and just how excited they continue to be, and that we've taken their suggestions to further this program. So they have requested, more time with us going into classrooms, expanding on the salmon and kind of like what can the students do to start making a difference? Like what's that personal impact? So we're really taking teacher feedback and student feedback and to continue to improve our field trip. Thank you.
Can we get a film of some of the reaction of these kids to the adventure?
So filmed?
Oh, you bet.
Yeah, I have lots of pictures.
We'd like to see something successful, something the kids enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. We can incorporate that.
Thank you.
So Melinda, yep, you've got your hand up. Okay.
Go ahead, Melinda.
Thank you. Good morning. Melinda Booth, Executive Director at South Yuba River Citizens League, also known as Circle. It's a pleasure to see you all, even in tiny squares. Thanks for letting me join virtually this morning. I just wanted to share, Circle's been offering these salmon tours since 2005, but we partnered with the agency back in really 2019, and we're able to increase the impact of these tours and increase our reach. And that's just continued. And this was a bit of a leap with this proposal, and we're so grateful that it was well received by staff and by the board to go ahead and seek 3 years of funding. What that's really going to allow us to do is ramp our program up and, as Creighton indicated, reach 90% of all Yuba County fourth graders by year 3. In order to grow the program, we have to have a commitment of that longer term support. And so thanks for understanding and being willing to partner with us on it, to offer it. So for the last 3 years, we've partnered with Yuba Water Agency, and this commitment that you're considering today would solidify the next 3 years and really launch us farther than we've been able to come. since 2005. So really starting to see the impact. And with Monique's leadership and the feedback that she's gotten from the teachers and doing the pre-trip and the post-trip in classroom, it's really going to be a program at this point that is more impactful on the kids than ever. And thank you so much for your consideration.
And one last thing, this program also links in with the curriculum that we're working with teachers currently and helping the fourth grade curriculum when it comes to getting out there and doing field trips when it comes to science-based. So that helps link these things together. And so getting into the classroom and then linking, going out into the field and bringing it back into the classroom is perfect.
Great. Through the chair.
Yes.
So Melinda, thank you for your work in this project. Very valuable. I think it's great. Don't forget that Feather River Air Quality has mini grants, and we talked about it last night at our board meeting. So be sure and reach out. There's an extra couple $1,000 that can do something to benefit the kids. If you get a hold of Sandra at Feather River Air Quality.
Thanks for the recommendation.
You bet.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Gary and I went on a raft trip last fall. Was it fifth graders last year?
There was some fifth graders that went last year.
Yeah. And they were completely focused on this. So it was a lot of fun. It was encouraging to see that they're going to do the pre-trip and the post-trip. I was wondering if they were going to be able to do that. And it'd be nice to see even more programs where we go into the school, like Recology used to do, right?
Yeah.
But that type, and did the agency ever do that?
Recology?
No. Did we ever go on a little road trip into the school talking about?
Honestly, I didn't even need what I was here until I came to work. Isn't that awful? 3 years ago, but I'm sure they did. I don't, to be honest with you.
Anyway, it was a great experience for all the kids. And they made us stop partway down where they were looking at insects, and they were really excited.
Hands-on is the way to go, for sure. Yeah.
I think every board member should look into taking them right along.
Yes, do it while you're younger.
And on a non-rainy day.
Well, at least
Yeah.
Right. On a rainy day. Okay. Well, thank you, Melinda and Monique. I really appreciate the program. As Dawn said, it was great to finally be able to get out on the river with the program last year. And I'm excited that there'll be some before and after in classroom things going on. And I certainly know I'd appreciate an invite to those so we could check those out as well. And I'm even more excited about the expansion to try to cover more of our kids in the county. So particularly the South County area. So much appreciated. So thank you very much. Okay. And I believe we have one more. Oh, you have sorry.
Could they explain on the spillway, they have it under relicensing, why it's not under flood risk reduction?
That sounds like the income statement in a different agenda item. I can answer the question if it was different.
Well, the core mission.
For
relicensing.
Yeah, so that's for the AVP committee here at 2 o'clock.
I just wondered a lot of people, right?
Say again?
It's not part of our, we've been very careful to make sure that the spillway was not a condition of our license. And yet we put it under relicensing, under its orders.
Yes, so we're still capturing the cost under relicensing. It'll move the power systems when it goes to construction, but we are capturing that. We might save this.
Is that an AVP committee?
I
We want to.
I believe it should be under the core mission of flood risk reduction.
Yeah, is that agenda item and that document is part of AVP, or was that earlier under the financial statements? AVP. Okay, so you want to talk about that during the AVP committee?
I just wanted to correct it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, Charlie. So I believe we have one more. It's the OPED item. Yes.
Well, after comment.
So we'll do public comment for all items at the end. Thank you. And so we have one more, and it's for OPUD. Is this going to be you, Jack?
It is. Alvers Public Utility District came and asked for a grant for $15,000 to help keep their pool open this year. They are currently the only pool in Yuba County for public. And one of the missions, of course, we want to keep those kids out of the river. So we're hoping that you'll approve this. It'll be in partnership with First Five Funding, Yuba County HHS funding. With us, we're going to have a safety day, if approved, on June 18th, and that will be with the Yuba County Boat Patrol. We have life jackets out there. It'll be, just a lot of education about water safety. So with that, I hope.
Okay.
Open for comment.
Any board comments or questions on this particular grant?
Thank you so much. That's a lot cheaper than us putting in a new swimming pool somewhere. So. Money well spent.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so if there's no board comments or questions, I believe that is it for the presentation on this item. So we'll move to public comment on any and all of the grant proposals under item 4. So, Charles?
Yes. Well, this is an outstanding example of how the Yuba Water Agency helps support our local water districts and other efforts to help bring water to people in Yuba County. It's great to have time and resources and money to devote to that. The other thing is South Yuba Circle is a Nevada County-based nonprofit. So occasionally you give grants to nonprofits out of the county. Is that correct? You're doing it.
If they're serving residents in the county, okay. Yes. Okay, Marike?
Just 100 points for Circle and Cemeteries. I've got my homeschool kid on one of those, and he went over 3 times, and he's going to help them in the next few years. So it's just amazing to see what this Yuba River does right here when you only know it from right on the Marshall Bridge, and now all kids know what's going on there, and it makes it real.
Great. Thank you. Any additional public comment in the room on this item? Okay, seeing none, is there any online? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, so with that, I will entertain a motion for all grants. Yes. Okay, so I have a first, and then was that a second from Supervisor Pure? Okay, so I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone who came and presented on those items. So now we will move on to item 5, which is receive a presentation from Yuba County Public Works and consider adoption of resolution 2022-08, approving up to $15 million in leveraging grant funds related to storm drainage components of Yuba County's 3 active transportation program projects. Leveraging funds will be contingent upon the county obtaining funding under the state's ATP program. On June 1st, 2022, the Drainage and Septic Systems Ad Hoc Committee voted in favor of this matter being considered by the Board of Directors. Willie, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, the agenda item says a lot, but I'll hand it over to Dan Peterson of the county to explain the opportunity here and the request for 3 separate grants totaling $15 million.
Well, good morning. My name is Dan Peterson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Director of Public Works for Yuba County. I'm a bit of a hybrid. I'm unusual for a public works director. By education and experience, I'm primarily a water resource engineer, but I'm recovering. So for the past several years, they pushed me over more into the transportation arena, and I go after grants and we do projects to improve roadways. However, I'm never going to be able to walk away from water resource engineering, and one of the tasks I assigned myself before I had the luxury of retiring is I wanted to have a master drainage study, an updated one for all of what I would call the South Valley portion of Yuba County, everything south of Marysville. We received a grant, so we're doing the background hydraulic and hydrologic calculations and analyses necessary to come up with a master drainage plan. We're developing this in coordination with RD 784. So for the first time ever, we will have a coordinated set of data that we can then use to go through and put together a capital improvement plan, actually frame out the backbone of a comprehensive drainage system, and then prioritize projects and start chasing after grant monies to pay for that drainage system. So you're sitting there asking, well, why are you talking about drainage systems and a master drainage plan when you're up here to ask for money to do roads? And the answer is, I'm trying to kill several birds with one stone. So what we're going to talk about today is, yes, I'm here to ask for money. And I think it's a fantastic leveraging opportunity. It's a bigger lift than I've ever tried before. It's somewhat daunting, but what the heck, you don't know until you try, right? So the Active Transportation Program, I'm going to introduce what that is and how that grant program works. We're going to talk about scoring criteria. We're going to talk about leveraging funds. And then I'm going to introduce the proposed projects for which I'm asking for money. So we can go ahead and jump to the next screen. So, as I warned you, I'm here to ask for money. And I'm going after 3 huge grants. Each grant is $25 million plus. So I'm trying to go after grants for West Linda, for East Linda, and for Olivehurst. Plumas Lake really doesn't need one because it's a new community. They already have curbs, gutters, sidewalks, storm drains, bicycle lanes. But West Linda, Olivehurst, and Linda do not. These numbers, the leveraging funds that I'm looking for, are the leveraging funds necessary for me to get full credit when we go after these competitive grants. And these things are fiercely competitive. Last cycle, we missed getting a grant for 9th Avenue and Fleming Way in Olivehurst by less than 1 point. And when I start looking at when I'm asking for $5 million in leveraging funds, that's because I went after $25 million for that project. And that $5 million, I don't like the way it's set up, but you can buy points. There's a maximum of 100 points that a project can get when it's ranked. You can buy up to 5 points with leveraging funds. I'm asking you for those leveraging funds for these projects. I really think that the West Linda and the Olivehurst projects are going to be extremely competitive with any program in the state. So I'm not here just for fun, just like this. So the ATP, the Active Transportation Program, is a statewide program. The state legislature said, hey, we want to promote walking, bicycling, use of transit, but we want to get people out of their vehicles and using active transportation. There's also a safety type of an issue because if you don't have sidewalks and bike lanes, where do pedestrians and bicycles end up? Out in the middle of the streets. One of the things that I often joke about is, believe it or not, I've got 9 grandkids. I take a great offense when I see kids that are walking down the roadway in the rain because the roadside ditches are full of water. There's no place else for them to go. And now they're out there with the cars. So I'm a huge proponent of the Active Transportation Program, a subset of which is safe routes to school. All of our projects that we're proposing are also safe routes to school programs, which means they're providing bike lanes, sidewalks, and safe passage for children walking to a school within a half mile of their house. You're supposed to encourage public health benefits with the Active Transportation Program. Once again, you get people out of their cars, you get them walking, you provide a way for them to go to the store, go to the park, go anywhere without having to get in a car and drive. And also benefit disadvantaged communities. This is one where I get kind of cranky. The legislature wrote into the ATP program and said, look, we want disadvantaged communities to have an advantage when we rank the projects. So you can get up to 5 points for being economically disadvantaged. But City of Roseville, El Dorado Hills, people with money didn't like that. So they lobbied the CTC, and that's when they came up with the, well, you can buy leveraging points. So if you have money, you can buy those points back effectively, which negates our whole advantage of being economically disadvantaged. So next slide. So these ATP grants come out every 2 years. We're on cycle 6. As I mentioned before, this is something that's kind of a passion for me. We've been extremely aggressive going after these previously, and we've been very, very successful. We've received grant funding for a number of projects, but these projects have been relatively small. A big project for us might be $3 or $4 million. We've been taking small bites out of this very large apple. This year, we have been told by SACOG and by the CTC and by a number of consultants that the state does not want these small incremental projects because the state is not seeing transformation in terms of a huge increase in active transportation in small communities. The state now wants this cycle to see large transformative projects. Hence what we're proposing for this cycle. We're not going after $2 to $5 million projects. I'm applying 3 grants or grant applications, roughly $25 million each. These are huge. These truly will be transformative when we get them. As I said, yeah. Next slide. So here's the point breakdown, and this is where I'm after transformative projects, which means we're being pushed into large projects. Okay, fine, we can lift heavy. Then they have the leveraging points, the 5 points. As I mentioned before, if I go from a 95 to a 90, when we rank our projects, I'm probably not going to get funded. That's why I'm taking the unusual step of appearing before the Yuba Water Agency Board today and requesting assistance for the leveraging funds so I can get those full 5 points, put me on an even playing field with the big boys. Next slide. So this is how it works. The more money you put in, the more points you get. I'm requesting the full 5 points. So I'm requesting that the Yuba Water Agency provide that 20% leveraging amount. Now, when I appeared before the Committee for Drainage and Septic System, I believe it is, I really wasn't anticipating the Yuba Water Agency to generously say, we could fund the full 20%. I figured that I would pull as much out of my road fund as I can afford without my roads falling apart, and I would be asking for the rest. But anything that we can get, obviously, I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. The committee recommended that you approve up to $15 million total for the 3 projects, not to exceed, and of course contingent upon us actually getting an ATP grant. Any monies above and beyond that $15 million we're covering. Right now, my estimate keeps creeping up because I'm continuously revising the scope of the projects and revising my cost estimates. But it looks like at this point, it will be about 15.8, 15.9 million should we actually get all 3 grants. The remaining funds would come from my Yuba County Road Fund. Next slide. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the projects. The West Linda project probably has the highest probability of success because they have the lowest median household income and they also have the highest collision rates, both of which are factors when they look at the rankings. Alicia Avenue, Arboga Avenue, Feather River Boulevard, Grand Avenue, J Street, Cottonwood Avenue, and Vine Avenue. I selected those for a number of reasons. Number one, it creates a true comprehensive grid, so you can get from any one point in West Linda to the other. Obviously, Alicia and Arboga and Feather River Boulevard and Grand Avenue, those are the biggest streets in West Linda. They have the right-of-way. We can put in actual bike lanes, which is very nice. Estimated cost at this point is just under $27 million. And you're looking at a huge transformative project. You're looking at almost 7 miles of sidewalks and 5 miles of bike lanes. And the big one, a drainage system for the first time ever. So the only reason West Linda doesn't flood every year when it rains is because it's sandy soil. But portions of it do flood, and portions of it are actually mapped into a FEMA flood zone because there's no storm drain system. There's no discharge points. When we do these complete street projects, I'm putting in storm drains because having all this infrastructure doesn't do me any good if the roads flood. So we're putting in storm drain systems, which is the nexus between the road project and the Yuba Water Agency and my beloved master drainage study. Roughly a third of these project costs when we do a complete street project is directly related to storm drain. So for a $27 million project, I'm looking at close to $9 million worth of storm drain. That's the nexus between these projects and the Yuba Water Agency and your mission. Next slide. So this is a quick map, and I apologize, it's not very, finished looking yet. But the yellow lines are the roads where we're putting in complete streets, curb, gutters, sidewalk, actual bike lanes, and a storm drain system. The green lines, Cottonwood and J Street, and Vine, I have an island, that's actually fine. Those streets, I did not have enough right of way to put in the bike lanes, so they're getting curb, gutter, sidewalk, and storm drain. That's the only difference. But you can tell that we are now looking at a full grid where people can get from one end of West Linda to the other. And in case you're not familiar with the fact, I already have a grant to do Alicia Avenue down to Feather River Boulevard. I have a grant to do Feather River Boulevard from Alicia to Arboga. I have a grant to do Garden all the way up to Riverside. And I have a grant to do Cedar Lane between that's Garden, and Alicia Avenue. So that portion's already done. I'm now going to have a grid that goes all the way from one end of West Linda to another, and a full storm drain system for the first time ever. And trust me, for a water resource engineer, that's exciting. Next slide. So Olivehurst, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, it's pretty much the same project. I just moved it down to Olivehurst. This time I'm looking at Western Avenue all the way from 3rd to 11th, and that street's a mess. Fleming Way, 8th Avenue, which runs on the south side of Elementary, 9th Avenue, and 11th Avenue, the portion we didn't already do. We already did half of 11th Avenue. Estimated cost, this one's just a smidge higher than West Linda, at $27 million and change. We're looking at, once again, putting in close to 7 miles of sidewalks. We're putting in 1 mile of class 2 bike lanes. Unfortunately, Olivehurst, I do not have as much right of way as I do in West Linda, so I couldn't get bike lanes in everywhere. Crosswalks, curb ramps to make everything ADA compliant. And of course, the huge drainage improvements. Once again, the drainage component is around $9 million because when I'm in there and I'm tearing up the streets, I'm putting in a storm drain. Next slide, please. Remember what I said about how I take great offense when it rains, the kids end up out in the middle of the street? This is what I'm trying to fix. And that slide over there shows, once again, the green streets are streets where I was unable to actually get in bike lanes, but I'm still putting in curb, gutter, sidewalk, and storm drain. This section of 9th Avenue, I'm actually going to be able to put in bike lanes as well. The red sections are sections I've already done, and we already have storm drains in there. So we're really getting a good bite out of putting in a comprehensive, not only ATP, active transportation grid, but also a comprehensive storm drain system for the city of Olivehurst. Next slide. And then East Linda, not to be outdone, estimated cost, actually, I just bumped that up. I think we're about $22 million now. Linda Avenue on the north side, Hamilton, Smartsville Road, Albrecht, Wiggett, Redburn, Grove, Ashway, Park Avenue, Montclair, Gold Street, and Cloak Street. I ended up with 10 road segments on this one, but I was trying once again to get a good grid going for the active transportation. Once again, you're talking close to, this is about 6 miles of sidewalk and about 4 miles of class 2 bike routes, which means an actual bike lane, a dedicated bike lane. And for this one, the storm drain is about $6.2 million. Next slide. And there's Linda Avenue. Once again, it's on the north side of Northfield Road. And of course, it's serving Linda Elementary. Next slide. And on the south side of Northfield Road, here's all the other roads that we're trying to put in this comprehensive grid. And there's Edgewater Elementary, which we're trying to provide safe access to for the kids. Next slide. So once again, in summary, this is I've been in this game for almost 40 years. I've never seen a grant cycle like this. This is just unprecedented. And the amount of money that's out there is unprecedented. The leveraging funds are huge. If I lose those 5 points because the wealthier communities can buy their way in, then we're not going to have, I don't think we're going to have a good competitive edge. If we can get that 20% leveraging funds, I think that we have a really good chance of getting West Linda, and I think we maybe even have a 50-50 chance of getting both West Linda and Olivehurst. That is huge. I mean, that's 10 years worth of work that we would normally do at the county. These are truly transformative projects, and these are projects that would have an enormous benefit to the community. So that's why, I'm taking the rather uncomfortable step of appearing before the Yuba Water Agency and requesting $15 million in leveraging funds to go after, at this point, it's over $77 million in grants. I think that we have a high probability of getting one. I think we've got a decent probability of getting two. Whichever grants are unsuccessful, I'm going to turn around, repackage, and resubmit under the federal Safe Routes for All program, which will be coming out next fall. So with that, I apologize for the whirlwind tour, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
I had a question for Gary, actually. You said on Safe Routes, right? And so my question is if we fund this at, let's say, 16 million for the creep up factor, as opposed to funding it at 23 million, does SACOG, when they look at where they're going to award the grant, would having a higher percentage than the 20.5 affect them, or no, the criteria points, anything over that 5 points has zero effect?
I'd have to double check, but I think our board adopted the same criteria that the state adopted. Is that correct, Dan, as far as scoring?
That's my understanding, that when the reviewers go through, it is a binary. Is it over 20%? You get your 5 points.
So there is no,
if you have 30%, you don't get any more.
Then I'm going to move for 16 million to cover creep factor.
And kind of a follow-up question to that, based on bringing up SACOG. So it's my understanding that first we compete from a statewide perspective in their ATP program, and then if projects are unsuccessful, then they compete in the regional ATP program that's administered through SACOG. And will these same applications and same funding be valid for both?
They would be valid, but I would not submit the same application. Reason being, and I work very closely with Victoria Cacciatore down at SACOG. She's the head of their ATP program. And she's been an enormous help. She goes through these projects. She reviews my grant applications, edits them, makes suggestions on how we can put in more safety mitigation measures into our projects. Wonderful. But she's already warned me that when SACOG, the state will go through and award state funds. Then there's a certain amount of the state monies that go to the RPAs or the RTAs, and SACOG would then have a set amount of money that they would distribute to their members. Typically, those projects are smaller and they look for smaller scopes, smaller dollar amounts. I would have to work with Victoria, but my guess is I would not submit anything larger than $10 million to SACOG because they don't have that same huge pot of money the state does.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I would be working with the supervisors and making sure when I trim those scopes back for SACOG that I'm not cutting away too much.
So then my question, I guess, should be ATP has the same binary system than that SACOG and the others.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
And I can say that definitively because I've been a reviewer in prior cycles.
If I recall correctly, SACOG anticipates having about 50% more funding this year for ATP than they did in the previous cycle, due to additional funding from a state perspective.
Isn't this a perfect example of we're taking power revenues that we didn't have before and making Yuba County a better place to be?
Yep.
Leveraging.
I think it's and leveraging on top of it.
I think it's a great example.
It's got everything that we can hope for.
I want to clarify before you guys are making motions and all that. Well, I think the intent from the Drainage and Septic Ad Hoc Committee was to, back to Seth's point, I think this question came up, is to make sure that the Yuba Water Agency funds that you all are about to commit, I believe, are greater than 20%. So we get the full 5 points. The reason I bring this up is Seth just mentioned a $16 million to cover, this increase. And Dan mentioned in one of his line items, one of the projects went from like 20 to 22 or something like that. Let's just make sure that the motion is accurately reflects what you intend to do. That's, I believe, greater than 20% contribution up to a max, which Dan may have to adjust his project proposals depending on what you guys agree to the max is. But I want to make sure it's greater than 20% so that we get the full 5 points.
Thank you. Okay. Any additional board comments before we accept a motion, maybe from Director Fuhr?
So I so move that we through the chair. just a comment, Dan. I'll tell you, this is the most aggressive package I've seen in the last 7.5 years. Great job. This really is within our mission. I think without a doubt, these are the things that we should be looking at. I am overly impressed. You've done a great job and service for the community. Thank you.
Is that a second? If and when we get one of these grants, there will be a groundbreaking party somewhere.
We'll make sure that happens. Yes.
Since I have now inherited the Linda area to represent, I'd like to be able to second the motion.
So the motion, to be clear for Jim, is to fund at 20.5% up to, and that would be approximately, it sounds like $16 million.
So is the motion limited to 16 million, or is the motion to fund up to 20.5? Okay. Okay. Whatever that.
So for clarity here, again, you have 3 different grants. So let's assume 2 of them are approved. You're basically in about a $10 million cycle. If you had 15 to pull from, you're still in great shape. If you had 12, you're still in great shape. If all 3 were to go, then you could exceed and go up to that number. So clarify, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And that's why I wanted to make sure I made the commitment that I'm not just completely dependent upon the Yuba Water Agency. The Public Works Department doesn't have a lot of money to spend on roads. Most of the money that I have in the road fund comes from gas tax money, SB1. And those are the funds that I use to do my routine overlays and road repairs. I'm perfectly willing to pull money out of that to help do this leveraging because this is such a huge opportunity. It's a little bit risky for me, but I'm willing to do that. Whatever the water agency is willing to offer, once again, I'm just so thankful because I don't want to miss this chance.
So the intent of the maker of the motion and the second is the way Seth put it together. If we happen to be competitive, get all 3 grants, that we meet the criteria for the 5 quotes.
Yes. Okay.
I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. So we have a first, we have a second. We're going to take public comment on this item next. So we'll start with in the room. Charles, do I see you over there with public comment?
I have a comment. Your presentation made me realize why the districts in Yuba County are so out of scale. It's because Linda should be its own city, and that would help take that out of the county prerogative and help realign the division, the districts to be more, they're way out of whack. Awkward now, like the 5th district is almost 2/3 of the county. And if Linda was its own city, that would help readjust the population to make it more evenly divided. Just my comment.
Okay. Any additional public comment in the room? Any public comment on Zoom?
No hands.
Okay, no hands. So you know what? Let's do a roll call vote for this one.
Okay. Let's see. Let's start with Director Fletcher.
Yes.
Director Matthews.
Yes.
Director Pure.
Yes.
Director Vasquez.
Yes.
Director Bradford.
Yes.
Director Blazer.
Yes.
Okay.
6-0.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, next up is manager's report.
Yeah, I'll keep it short today since we're going kind of long here. It's amazing, but it's a drought year. But Buller's Bar continues to creep up. We had kind of significant precipitation in the late spring, and then over the weekend we had an inch of precipitation in the watershed. And the reservoir continues to creep up. It's at 105% of average year to date, with only a 65% of average inflow year to date. So the reservoir's looking good. We're delivering ag water to our irrigators. Things are going fairly well. On the power systems front, the forecasted generation for April was 32,000 megawatt hours. And with the storms, that provided a fair delivery of precipitation. We generated 31,000 megawatt hours, so not far off our forecast, so just slightly below. So that just tells you that we had decent runoff. And our power systems revenue for April totaled $5.5 million against a forecast of $3.5 million. And that increase is due to market conditions based on lack of hydro in other parts of the state and also natural gas pricing. The Cal-ISO average day-ahead energy price for April was $65 or so, with the high being $195 and the low being negative $2. and our average megawatt hour price was 113.03.
How does negative $2 work?
They don't want you generating. So what happens is you bid into the market and there's too much generation on the grid. Some generators have to generate. They're online and they can't decrease fast enough, whether it's a baseload hydro or a fossil plant. So they're trying to incentivize other generators to get off the grid, and so they make a negative. So you actually have to pay to generate. That's what happens.
So if we had batteries, that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we would put the generation into batteries unless they were full.
And does that not happen like ever hardly? It's just like a super rare occurrence?
It happens in the spring of wet years, and it happens in certain transitional periods in every year. But it's not very common.
And how much do we lose from these negative generations?
Well, the spring of 2017 was the worst for two reasons. One, it was major runoff, and the state grid was transitioning from it's still in transition, but transitioning from a traditional hydro and fossil nuclear base to a, more wind and solar based, and the market hadn't really adjusted and seen it before. We never had a negative day in the spring of a total day. We had negative hours, but we haven't seen that since. And we did have a fairly wet year in 2019, and it wasn't nearly as bad as 2017. So I think it's mitigating itself. Batteries not owned by us, but batteries generally in the state are mitigating that a little bit because they'll take that low price power. There's a place to put it, basically.
Do we run numbers like at what point it would be valuable to get batteries because of these sorts of things? And so far, it's not cost effective for us to get batteries.
We absolutely have numbers on what it would cost.
It's not there yet.
It's not there. It's not even close. And we could get into a lot of detail about this, but the bottom line is the Agency Act doesn't allow us to, if we owned batteries, we couldn't take grid power and charge the batteries. We could only use our power and charge batteries. That doesn't mean that the market conditions wouldn't exist where we could charge the batteries with our power, but we wouldn't be able to take advantage of other market conditions that are outside of our generation and charge the batteries. It'd be like an independent battery owner. Good question. Okay, recreation. We're doing some minor debris cleanup on the lake and routine maintenance. Our other maintenance folks are working on the Narrows 1 outage. It started this week. It'll be a few weeks long, so Narrows 1 unit is shut down. Narrows 2 unit is delivering the flows in the Yuba River at about 1,030 cubic feet per second. That's in-stream flow release demand and irrigation demand. We successfully tested the low-level outlet at Lake Francis on May 25th with California Department of Water Resources Division Safety of Dams in witnessing that test, so that went well. Our mini hydro was taken down for a day on May 23rd for some maintenance. We're still in drought conditions overall in the state. However, like I said, our water storage conditions are doing well. May was below average in precipitation and average temperatures. April was above, and June has started off to be great. Normally we don't get a lot of rain in June. Like I said earlier, a late season atmospheric river caused over 1 inch of rain to fall in the upper watershed on Sunday. It's a welcome surprise, offsetting some fire weather concerns in the short term. However, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This weekend will be our heat wave, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, triple digits, high 106, 107 in the valley. So it's going to be hot this weekend.
Good news, bad news?
Yeah, exactly. Human resources update. So there's a lot going on here. We're happy to announce that our environmental health and safety officer, Scott Alcantara, began employment with us on May 9th. And we've also got a new elect-tech starting actually today. His name's Daryl Richter. And a new senior hydro engineer is expected to begin on July 11th. And we're actively working on positions for supervising electrical technician and procurement supervisor, and we'll have posted positions for environmental specialist, senior environmental specialist, compliance analyst, and staff accountant in the next couple of weeks. And we're developing plans to add positions that are necessary in water resources, resource planning, and power systems to better help support our objectives. And these positions will be brought to the board for consideration at our meeting later this month. Our internship program for this year is in full swing, and we're about to wrap up the selection process for our interns. And most of our interns will be starting on Monday, June 13th. Jack, can you help me out with that?
There was 5.
6 or 7?
Oh, we're 6 or 7. Sorry.
Somewhere between
Let's
5 and 7.
I know I got one. I'm really excited.
More than we've ever had.
Yeah. There you go.
The HR team has uploaded all of our recently approved HR policies and procedures to our pipeline, our internal website. They also have a strategy to build a recruitment campaign that reaches and encourages exceptional candidates to apply for vacancies. And the team is exploring HR digitization for standardizing and automating business processes and workflows to enable the team to spend less time on administrative tasks and more time on value add activities to support the agency's strategic priority number 4. That's HR update. Okay, government relations update. This one's full as well. Senator Feinstein and Senator Padilla submitted congressionally directed spending requests for $4.5 million to help advance completion of the Marysville Ring Levee and $1.5 million for the proposed Army Corps of Engineers Upper Yuba River Basin Comprehensive Feasibility Study. Congressman Garamendi submitted a request for the Marysville Ring Levee project as well, and we're pleased that we have a unified support from our congressional delegation for these priorities. The requests will now work their way through the appropriations process and will continue to engage in support. On the state side, leadership from the Senate and Assembly announced a joint legislative framework for the state budget. While many details are still being developed, the framework includes $100 million for dam safety projects statewide. This is the first time the legislature has proposed funding for dam safety. The Dam Safety Coalition, which we've helped to coordinate over the last several years, will continue to work to secure significant state funding for these projects in the state budget that will be finalized later this summer. And finally, our co-sponsored state legislation related to DWR's Atmospheric River Research Program, AB 2078, was held in the Assembly Appropriations Committee on the suspense file. While the bill won't be moving forward, we're glad to report that the overall strategic objective of the bill was met with the inclusion of over $10 million annually in the governor's May revised proposal. With strong legislative support for that proposal, we expect to see it in the final state budget. Comms and community relations. The Appeal Democrat included a great write-up about the premiere of The Tricky Yuba, which has been viewed more than 550 times on our Vimeo page and more than 2,300 views on Facebook. Our event at the Center for the Arts in Marysville was a big success, with employees screening the film first, and then dozens of community members, stakeholders, and local leaders attending the evening premiere. Thank you to all of you who participated in one or both of those screening events. The Appeal also ran a story about the CAL FIRE grant awarded last week to the Fire Safe Council, made possible by a grant provided by us to cover the local cost share. On June 13th, we will be participating in an event to celebrate the official launch of a project we helped fund the new Wheatland water meters. We finally got that kickoff on the schedule. And lastly, the North Yuba Water District. Gary Bradford and I met with North Yuba Water District Chairman and General Manager on May 24th, and the South Feather Water and Power Chairman and General Manager yesterday. The purpose of these meetings were to assist North Yuba Water Districts with providing water to all of their customers. This is an ongoing effort. Our next meeting will be a regular Board of Directors meeting on June 21st, and we'll also have a special meeting for continuing the discussion of the strategic plan update.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Willie? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to board member reports. Charlie, we'll start with you.
Nothing to report. I hear that Willie and you making a headway. We want to compliment you. There's a lot of people that are depending on it.
Thank you, Charlie.
So I have never had a sidewalk when I've lived in an unincorporated area of Yuba County. And I have lived on Arboga, which would be in West Linda. I've lived on Grove and Ash when I was in Linda, and now on Western. And so it's really nice that all of the places I've ever lived will soon have sidewalks. It's pretty coincidental, but I like it. My childhood has been redeemed. Thank you. So really excited about the stuff we're doing. And it's quite a cost savings for the water agency. Normally we fund it at 33%. So it's actually, we would normally spend 23 million on this. So if we're going to get away with 16 million, then that's even better, right? Cost savings, so good stuff. Other than that, I don't know if this is the right forum, but Olivehurst is just doing great in lots of ways. We had a grocery store open last week, and so I just can't stop talking about it.
You're easily interchanged with sidewalks.
It doesn't take much to make me happy. I'm so easy to please.
And we better get these grants.
Right. Right.
Just
They
had
had
to
to
win
for
the
you.
cleanup this weekend, and it went seamlessly. We had about 150 cars, and it was quite a smooth event, thanks to Recology. And
A few volunteers, huh?
yeah, a few volunteers. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Randy?
No comment.
Okay. Don, do you have anything today?
Not so much, but I'm kind of following up with Seth and that whole development around the Cedar Lane affordable housing complex. That's going to be a real impact on that area.
Great. So my only comments are it was great to take the opportunity today to approve grants and give back to the community and invest in the community. I am really excited about the potential ATP projects in Linda, Olivehurst, and West Linda. I think that would be amazing, and I'm really hopeful we'll get those. Also wanted to point out and just kind of echo under the government relations update, I'm really excited to hear that our work is kind of paying off. I know staff works hard to try to advance these things for us, and it ties into what we do at Cap to Cap and plenty of other places as well. So they all fit together. People often joke, we go to Cap to Cap, come back, well, did you bring back a lot of money? And you don't usually walk away with a check, but it's a piece of the puzzle, as is everything that our staff does, and it all works together to accomplish things like what's listed here. So anyway, appreciate all the hard work on that. And with that, we will adjourn. I know there is a closed session on the agenda. It's being moved to a future agenda, and the date is not yet known. So, and also just a reminder, we do have a special board workshop meeting at 11 a.m. in this room. And so I guess that's about 40 minutes from now. And so those participating will see you back in here then. And with that, we will adjourn. So thank you, everyone.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.